All right, let's do this, guys. G'day. Welcome once again to the tripod. This week I will be, well, usually I say we, but it's not going to be we today. It's only going to be myself breaking down round 14 in the NRL. Let me know if you can hear me all right. I've decided to go without the headphones today. I just find that when I have these fucking headphones in, the microphone is so close to my mouth, and if I talk just even slightly loud, it seems like it's crackly anyway. So let me know if you're having trouble hearing me or whatever. But yeah, today I'll be breaking down round 14. Jacob is not going to be with us today. He is leaving for Europe tonight with his partner of 2 years, and they're going to be gone for 6 weeks. So you're going to be stuck with me for the next 6 weeks just by myself. Let's start off, I guess, the big news from this week. It's funny, like, we've been doing this shit for 5 years, giving out free tips. We're still at 59% overall. If you'd put $100 on every one of our singles this year, you'd be up $2,900, and if you'd put $50 on our multis, you'd be up $630 in profit. But the big news, obviously, and I think it is because, like, maybe people just like to see others lose. I think that's just a normal part of the human brain. You kind of, if someone else fails closely, then it's just like, fuck you, cunt. So the big story, obviously, was our multi that we posted on the page and we shared in the group. A $15 basketball same-game multi that was paying out nearly $14,000 that failed on one leg because the Toronto Raptors couldn't win the game after being up 6 points in the final 2 minutes. That was Jacob's multi, so send him your love, guys. I know he was just about to leave for Europe. Europe is not a cheap place to go, and 14 grand would have been very nice to take on that trip. But unfortunately for him, that was a lost multi, and an absolutely brutal multi loss at that. But don't get us wrong, this is not the first time this shit has happened to us. This shit happens to us all the fucking time. Like, just to let you know, I had a multi. And I can barely bet anymore. But I just found that I had some reward points sitting over from like probably 2 years ago when I was still betting. And I had a $50 bonus bet sitting there. I put it on last week's games, had a bunch of shit in there. I think I had Manly 1-12, Panthers 1-12. I'm trying to think of who else was in there. Knights 1-12. I had Raptors to win the NBA Finals 4-2. They're now up 3-2. And I had an ice hockey team, the underdog, to win by 2 or more goals. They are up 2 goals, and they concede a late goal in the dying minutes. And I would be looking at $50,000, $52,000. So this shit happens to us constantly. If the Raptors win Game 6, I'm going to be absolutely spewing because that would be a one-leg loss in the dying minutes for 52 grand, which is absolutely grim. But anyway, that will do it for that. Let's get started on the round. First up, on Thursday, we have the Raiders minus 1.5 points hosting the Sharkies. 38.5 points is the total. It's actually a really fucking good round this week. And I'll say this now. It's a really, really good round for watching footy. Very, very tight games, obviously, except for the last game with the Roosters. But really great matchups across all of the first 7 games. Except the issue for me is I do not love this round from a betting perspective at all. Although this game will be an absolute cracker. These are 2 of the informed teams in the comp. Obviously, the Raiders absolutely smashing the Tigers 28-zip last week. But, I mean, that was a little bit lucky. As we discussed on the pod last week, those first 2, especially Raiders tries, were pretty bullshit. And even the third one off a kick as well. So that was the first 3 tries off pretty bullshit stuff. But the Raiders, to be fair, are still, one of the top 4 teams and have been playing so for pretty much the entire season. Home ground advantage in Canberra is pretty good. I'd probably say I'd bump that up to 3 points in Canberra, just given how cold it's going to be. It's going to be a night game. It's going to be like 8 degrees down there in Canberra. And they always get a decent home turnout. And I think the Raiders' home field, I would probably say, is definitely one of the stronger ones in the comp. But onto the Sharks. You get Josh Morris back, and the Sharks are just building very, very nicely. Exactly what I kind of said last week or on the recap pod. They've had injuries throughout the first half of the season. They are finally getting healthier. Dugan is playing. He's healthy-ish, as healthy as he can be. You get Matt Moylan back, and now you get Josh Morris back this week. And also, Sean Johnson's been named in the reserves as well. So if he plays, that'll be a huge boost. But look, even if he doesn't play, and if he does, even if he does, and even if he doesn't, I still think that the Sharks team, when they're relatively fully healthy now, except for losing their hooker Jaden Brayley, is probably a slightly better team than this Raiders side. So Raiders are slight favourites. I just do not see enough value on this Thursday night game to pull the trigger. Same deal with the Titans on Friday. The Titans are 1.5-point underdogs to the Warriors. 38.5 points is the total. What you will notice in this pod, I guess, seeing as Jacob's gone for 6 weeks, I tend to be maybe the more selective person out of our duo in terms of giving out plays and that kind of stuff. So I will probably have less plays over the next 6 weeks, and I probably will have less games that I will be putting bets on over the next 6 weeks as well. I tend to be more, I guess, if I don't love a game, I probably will just leave it. Whereas maybe if we put our two heads together, we'll try and find as much value as we can. And another reason is, to find these best bets generally, we'll be sitting there for an hour and a half to 2 hours before the pod, looking through every single market that we possibly can. And when it's just me, the shit takes like over 3 hours. So yeah, I probably will be giving out less plays. Obviously, we've got 11 tonight. Just a heads up for you guys, we probably won't be having 30 or 40 plays or whatever on certain weeks. It'll probably be more towards the 20 best bets kind of I guess number. This one, very interesting game as well, and what should be a very, very entertaining game as well. I guess it's a revenge factor for the Titans. They got smoked 26-10 back in round 4. So you do have a revenge factor for the Titans, and we have discussed how we do like taking a team that has lost to that same team in the previous season. They tend to be, a bit more willing to make adjustments, whereas the team that won just thinks that, they can do the exact same thing and win again. My one concern with this one, when I looked at this game initially, I was thinking, the line seems a little bit short. I probably like the Warriors here. They are the better team, I could argue, especially because, Titans have lost Ash Taylor now. I understand that they got a big win over the Broncos last week, but I can easily say that this is a letdown spot for the Titans. They get up for Big Brother game at Suncorp. It's injured player theory as well. We talk about this a lot in rugby league and in other sports as well. When a team loses one of their best players, generally the team lifts in that very next game and they put in a really good performance, which is exactly what happened with the Titans. They lost Ash Taylor. They put in a great performance. Riley Jacks was fantastic. But the issue here is that once they get the win, everyone kind of forgets that they've lost that key player and just thinks, fuck, the Titans are going to be absolutely fine, even without Ash Taylor. So I don't like that aspect of it, and especially because, they won last week. It's a letdown spot, and people are just forgetting about Ash Taylor completely. On the flip side, the Warriors, I would love to play them, but the issue I have is that, reading things today, and I'm not sure if anything's changed, they've just got a fucking massive bout of gastro that's swept through the team. So you've got players affected include Blake Green, Isaac Luke, Carl Lawton, and, that's one of those ones where it's fucking gastro. I understand that, yes, you may be able to play come Friday, but it's not that far away. They missed training yesterday, and gastro is not a fun thing to have, and especially not play with. So that's why I was leaning towards Warriors until I kind of heard that. Also, Warriors had the bye a couple of weeks back. Titans haven't had the bye yet, and that certainly hurts at this sort of time of the season when bodies are starting to get weaker and all that kind of stuff. The Titans do get Peachy back, they get Cartwright back, but to be honest with you, I don't know if that's a huge boost. I hate Bryce Cartwright, and I think Peachy has been just one of the dumbest NRL players of all time this year. So, look, if I'm going to keep my ear pinned to the ground, if I hear anything else about this gastro stuff, I would like to play the Warriors, even though it is revenge spot for the Titans. I think it is a little bit of a letdown spot for me. Next up, our first best bets of the night. We've got the Friday night game. Cowboys laying 3.5 points against the Tigers. 36.5 is the total. I love the under in this one. I've kind of explained it before that I love taking the Tigers team under, and I love taking the Cowboys under in games. And now we have two under teams playing each other. We loved the under last week when the Tigers played the Raiders. And let me tell you, I know there was 28 points scored, but 18 of those points were very, very lucky. There should have been less than 20 points scored in that game. The Tigers' defense is very, very solid. Now you lose Mahe Fanua, who, to be honest, is much better on the offensive end than on the defensive end of the ball. And the Cowboys have just been stagnant in offense all year. I think last week was a bit of an anomaly. I mean, yes, they scored 20 points, but 18 of those points were in 6 minutes, and the rest of the time they scored 2 points. So this Cowboys offense's attack is not very dangerous. It doesn't scare me at all. I think this is going to be an absolute grind of a game, especially when you have two teams coming off a loss, especially the Tigers getting donutted. Donutted is you're going to be focusing on defense for sure that next coming week. Tamalolo is going to go off again as usual. You lose Jordan McLean, which certainly hurts as well. So I just really think this is going to be an absolute grind of a game. Both teams focusing on defense, and especially the Tigers. We have 5 best bets on the game so far. We're going to take the Cowboys team total under 20.5 points. That is $1.80 on Neds. We'll take the Cowboys under 3.5 tries. That's $1.80 on Ladbrokes, Neds, and Bet365. We'll take the Tigers plus 2.5 points in the first half. That is $1.80 on Unibet. We'll take under 6.5 tries for the game. That one's $1.81 on Sportsbet. And we'll take the first half under 18.5 points. That is $1.80 on Ladbrokes and on Neds. Quick beer break, and let's move on to the next game. Next one, we have the Storm laying 8 points against the Knights. 41.5 is the total. Very, very interesting game as well. I know that a lot of people are tipping the Knights in this one, or at least at the handicap. I don't love it that much. I understand that the Knights have probably been playing some of the best football in the comp, over the past few weeks. They're on a 6-game win streak. And honestly, they are. They are playing some of the best footy in the comp. Mitchell Pearce is on fire, obviously, in that Origin selection headache. Ponga's back. He's rested now. The one thing that people kind of forget, I guess, is, the Knights lost Clemmer last week. He's not going to be back this week. Aiden Guerra's been named in the extended reserves, but he probably won't be back either from everything I'm reading. And let's be real here, the Storm are arguably still playing the best footy in the comp. They're top of the table now after the Roosters and the Rabbits have dropped some. And they've got to be getting their eye on that number 1 seed heading into finals footy. So really, I don't love this Knights line. I know it seems high. I know 8 points seems high. But the Storm are, like I said, arguably playing the best footy in the comp right now, arguably the best team in the comp, and they have arguably the best home field advantage of any team. I would give them at least 3.5 points playing down there in Melbourne. And, can I make an easy argument that the Storm are 4.5 points better than the Knights? I think I can. And I know the public's going to be on the Knights. It's rare that you get a game involving the Storm where the public is going to be on the other side. And I think that's exactly what we're going to have here. The public's going to be all over the Knights. They're on a 6-game win streak. Every average punter that's been betting on the Knights week after week has won. And I just think this is a dangerous spot to be taking the Knights at this line. I think that the Storm, win the game. And I think, gun to my head, would I rather take Storm -8? I probably would. And who knows, look, if money comes to the Knights and this line pushes down to, 7.5 and even maybe towards a 6, I would certainly be more inclined in taking the Storm in this one than the Knights. Next up, we have the Rabbitohs laying 5.5 points against the Panthers. 39.5 is the total. This is probably my favourite game of the round, actually. And I know that I've been on a bit of a roll with these ones. I think when I've mentioned that this is the favourite game of the round. I'm on a six game win streak. The Panthers were my favourite play of the round last week. Obviously, you get the outright win, 19-10. But I just think, oh God. Okay, so the Panthers, they are a confidence team. We know this. They were playing absolutely terrible at the start of the season. We said that they would. We were low on the Panthers early on in the season with all the off-field drama, all that kind of stuff. We said they were a fade team in the first few weeks. Now they've won 3 on the trot. They have revenge coming into this one. They lost a close one to the Rabbits, 22-18 back in round 7. The one thing that you would worry about, obviously, is the Rabbits. They are a good team. They are coming off a loss, and they are on a long turnaround. And another thing that I guess you might worry about as a punter, the Panthers have won 3 games in a row. Are they sucking out value? I think not necessarily, because it's not like they're a top 2, top 4 on the ladder. They're 1 game out of the 8, I believe. So they're not going to be resting on their laurels in this game either. I understand that the Rabbits get Cody Walker back, you get Kyle Turner back. But one thing, you still don't have Reynolds there. You have a little bit of off-field drama with Dane Gagai going to the wing and whispers that he doesn't want to fucking stay there because he doesn't want to be a winger, he wants to be a centre. And not only that, it's James Robertson's taken his spot, and James Robertson is playing inside him. It's very interesting what's happening there. So I think that, you don't want to read into it too much, but I think, that can only be a distraction for the Rabbitohs. Not only that, you've got Sam Burgess getting surgery, so he's out. You've got Tom Burgess suspended. So you don't have a full-strength Rabbitohs side here. I understand you've got Alex Johnson a chance of coming back, but even if he does, I don't think he's going to be 100% healthy. So really, I do like the Panthers in this one. We've got 3 best bets. I've made a mechanical Panthers +7. That one is $1.80. We're going to do it by putting 58% of our stake on Panthers +7.5. That is $1.72 on Ladbrokes, obviously in the pick your own line section. We'll put the remaining 42% on the Panthers +5.5. The best price for that one is $1.91 on Bet365. We've made a mechanical Panthers team total over 16 flat, so we get our money back if they score 16 points. That one ends up being $1.86. It's 58% on the Panthers team total over 15.5. That's $1.72 on Sportsbet. And 42% of our stake on the Panthers team total over 16.5. That one is $2.04 on Sportsbet. If that one goes, I think like Bet365 has like $2 on that, I think. And I'm also going to take the Panthers over 6.5 points in the first half. That one is $2 on Bet365. Next up, another very entertaining game. I'd say that almost this is like the best slate of footy all year. Every single game is very, very close. The Eels laying 1.5 points, hosting the Broncos. 38.5 points is the total. Very, very interesting game. Both teams pretty much embarrassed last week. The Eels lost by 20 to the Sharks. I don't think that was necessarily an embarrassment because the Sharks were on fire. But the Broncos was a fucking embarrassment. They played terrible. They did not come out to play. And they honestly shouldn't have been as close as whatever it was, 8 or 10 points to the Titans. They should have got blown out in that one. A couple late tries kind of, made the score a little bit more respectable. But most people, I guess your average punter sort of looks at that and says, there's no way I'm betting on the Broncos this week. And I would say the exact opposite. I think after an embarrassment like that, I think they will show up this week and put in a very, very good performance. The issue is that the Eels also got blasted last week. So they'll be looking to put in a good performance. Plus, they're at home. I think that new home stadium certainly adds, at least 2.5, 3 points to the Eels team. You've got Tom Dearden out, O'Sullivan in, which I think is pretty much a scratch. I understand from, an experience point of view and a gameplay point of view, it's probably not great. But everything, you've seen from O'Sullivan says that he should be able to slot in there and do a job. And to be honest with you, I understand like a lot of people like Tom Dearden. I didn't think he was fantastic. And Shuffles in the halves as well for the Eels. Will Smith out, Salmon in. It's probably a wash as well. But one thing, you might say these teams are fairly equal. I still think that the Broncos have the better lineup here. But if you're giving the Eels 3 points for home field, then it makes the line pretty much fair. I'll say that if I could get a 2 with the Broncos or a 2.5, a 2.5 I would obviously take it. And certainly if I see some money coming in for the Broncos, I would take it. That would certainly be the side that I'm leaning towards. And another reason is because the Broncos have had the bye now, and the Eels haven't. And like I said, when you get towards this time of the season, those buys they help, especially when it's very close. It's only 2 weeks ago that you had the bye. So I'll be looking to possibly add some Broncos plays tomorrow morning. But yeah, I'm torn about it because Gutho in as well, which certainly is probably just enough to keep me off the Broncos because he looked cooked last week when he went off for the game, but he's been named, so obviously they've considered him fine. But that might be just enough to keep me off the Broncos. Next up, we have Manly laying 4.5 points to the Dragons. 41.5 is the total. This is the Sunday early game, and yes, generally the Sunday early games, are fairly high scoring. It's a nice sunny afternoon, but there is rain scheduled for this one, and I know we're a few days out, but I still think the total seems a bit too high. I think if it obviously does end up raining, which the weather report you can never fucking trust, but if the weather report is correct this far out and it does end up raining, this total is going to be like 36. So certainly I think it's fine to jump in on the 41.5. Obviously, as you see on the board, we've got 42.5 in a couple of places. So I think it's fine to jump on those unders markets now. If it is a fine sunny day, I don't think that goes up an awful lot. If it does rain, I think we've got a great total there. Another really interesting game. I mean, Manly getting healthier. You've obviously got Tommy Turbo back. He played last week. He had a very good game. An average game in my opinion. He is one of the more talented players in the comp, but a few drop balls. He looked a bit rusty. I do think he's going to be improved this week, and I know I said that I would look to bet on Manly in coming weeks, but this Dragons team, okay, you get your first win in 5 games, and we've talked about this before. It's losing streak theory. You go on a losing streak, and your whole team gets bogged down. You've got so much pressure on you to get that first win, and then once you get that win, generally that team, and you snap that losing streak, generally that team does show up. In that next week. I think that the Dragons will show up in this one, and I have added one play just because it is probably a slight mistake on BetEasy's part on that Dragons plus 6.5 there, which I'll read out in a little bit. Corey Norman's playing well. He's slotted back in there nicely. Ben Hunt seems to have gotten a lot of confidence from Origin. I think the Dragons show up here. I think it could be a grind, especially if it does rain. So I do like all the 3 plays we've got on this one. First up, we're taking under 20.5 points in the first half. That one is $1.84 on Unibet. I'll take under 42.5 points in the game. That's $1.90. You can find that on Unibet and on Sportsbet. And the Dragons plus 6.5 at $1.80 on BetEasy. That's in the pick your own line section. I don't think that one will last too long. If you can't get that one, I had another look. I think like Unibet had them at like $1.78 or something like that. So if you don't get that one, I would certainly take $1.80 or $1.78 for plus 6.5 than the prevailing plus 4.5, which is pretty much everywhere. Next up, we've got the Roosters laying 13.5 points against the Bulldogs. 39.5 is the total. Really tough one for me. I guess, in these ones, and Jacob's talked about this one before, when you get a really big favourite, like of 12.5, 13.5 points, or whatever sort of, underdog you get, whatever the line is, in order to bet on that underdog, you have to really truly believe that they can win the game. I do not think the Bulldogs can win this game. So I do not want to put my money anywhere near the Bulldogs, even though the line is massive. It's 13.5 points. It's one of the higher lines that you'd see in the NRL. But the Roosters are on a 3-game skid, and one thing I don't want to do, I guess, is bet against a good team off a few losses. I understand we went against the Roosters last week, but there were reasons for that, and we really did like the Panthers in that spot. But here, I think the Bulldogs have pretty much given up on their season. I think you could see that last week. They just let go of the rope, did not show any heart at all. And I know that sometimes, shit teams can fucking show up against really good teams, even if they're out of the finals contention. Sometimes those are the games that you show up for. But there's no way I want to bet against the Roosters at home after 3 straight losses. I think they definitely get the job done here. But I don't want to take the Roosters either, because I understand they get Crichton back, they get Latrell back, but what frame of mind he is in, who knows? And now there's whispers coming out that they may rest Boyd, Cordner, and Teddy, which, to be honest, maybe they should have done, last week, because they've probably just realised Origin, all these games, has taken its toll on these guys. So, I definitely don't want to put my money on Roosters laying 13.5 if they're going to rest Teddy and Boyd Cordner. That seems dumb, but I don't want to take the Bulldogs either. So this is one of those games where I don't really want to bet on it, and to be honest, I don't really want to watch it either. This is the least entertaining game of the round, in my opinion. Every other game is an absolute cracker. Yes, James, just seeing some comments. Yes, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is starting for the Dogs. He's going to start in the centres there, so that is certainly a boost for them. He is a talented player. That's going to do it. That'll do it. I wonder even how long I went. Fuck. Still went 27 minutes even by myself. I'll try and keep that a little bit shorter. I did figure that, without Jacob here, I'd probably be doing more like 10 or 15 minute pods, but seems like we've gone a little bit longer here anyway. But yeah, guys, that'll wrap it for this week, round 14 preview. I'm going to try, and I've got some shit to do tomorrow, so I'll probably will be releasing best bets a little bit after lunchtime, so a little bit later, maybe like 1 or 2 p.m. I'll be bringing out the rest of our best bets. May have a lot more, may not have a lot more, but yeah, it's just like those 3 games certainly were my favourites of the week. And I guess I'll decide on some of those other games, like depending on whether that Warriors Gastro is a little bit worse than expected and stuff like that. So, look, make sure you're in our group, Tripod Punters Tips Forum. Get in there and cheer the Golden State Warriors on Saturday, on Friday, because if the Raptors win, that would have cost me $52,000, which will be a little bit annoying. And obviously, make sure you're in the Tripod app. That's where we post our tips first. And you'll get a push notification as soon as we post out those tips as well. So, thanks for joining us, boys. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to hit us up on the Tripod page, in the group, or in the app. And I will see you after the late game on Sunday for a recap of round 14. Have a good one.